In this video, I'm going to show you how to add a subcontract operation to a routing, how to make that subcontract step a production step, how to create a work order, process a production on it, close and cost the work order, and finally, what to do if the subcontract order closed after the work order has been costed. First, I want to explore the bill of material that is going to be used on the work order. I'm going to navigate to Common Data, BOMs, Production BOMs. The BOM I'm going to be using requires basic quantity of 1. It is available to use, and it has one component that requires 1 unit. Now, within the BOM, I can drill to the routings to get to the work order routings, or I can navigate to manufacturing, technical data, routing management. I'm going to go back to the BOM. I'm going to be drilling within the routings button. Then here, the routing for this BOM has code 40 for site NA011. Time in unit is hours. It is available to use. The material and operation can be changed on the work order. And right now, the routing has one operation, which is a lab work center or labor work center. It has 1 hour of set time or setup time. Management unit is 1, basic quantity is 1, and it requires 1 hour to run. And the unit of measure is similar to the BOM. It's 1 pound. Here is the scheduling, and as you can see, this scheduling step is a production step. In the next video, I'm going to show how to change this to make it a production step and make the subcontracting production step. Within routings management, I'm going to click on the routings tab. Then this will take me to the routings operations. I'm going to add a work center by clicking the magnifying glass. I'm going to select sub 003. Then I'm going to be tabbing to the number of resources 1. I'm not going to use setup time in this video. Then I'm going to enter 1 hour for runtime. Then I'm going to be tabbing all the way till I get to the production or subcontract product. So in this scenario, I'm going to use SIR 001 or service product 001. It's going to be for business partner NA009, and these are required fields for subcontract. So we have to enter a subcontract product. We have to enter the work center, or the system will enter it automatically for us, and we must select a business partner. Finally, I'm going to enter a reference price. Once that is done, I'm going to save. Then, as you can see, under the scheduling right now, it shows that lab 001 is my production step, meaning when I create the production, when I create the work order, then create the production, the finished goods will be produced. I'm going to change that by making the lab not a production step, and I'm going to be making my subcontract step is a production step, meaning once I generate the purchase order, once I receive the product, the system will generate the production for me, and we will see this in a minute. So I'm going to save this. Then just going back quickly to the subcontract operation I just added. I want to go over the costing. So that way, when we look at the web cost inquiry, the numbers make sense to us. So if I click on the cost and dimensions for manufacturing site and A011 and work center sub 003, you can see that the work center type is subcontracting. And if I drill on the cost and dimension, you can tell that the standard setup and standard run is $10 for the subcontract, which that is gonna be calculated when I roll up the cost. And also I wanted to show you the cost of the lab work center. So this cost and dimension is, if I drill to it, it will show me that standard setup is 70 and standard run is 70. So these numbers, we will look at them when we run the standard cost roll-up. Because I added a new subcontract operation to the routing, I need to recalculate the standard cost. I can do that by navigating to costing, cost calculations, standard cost calculation. I'm going to enter the storage site, an A011, then the product is going to be 00 STD, and this message is just an informational message letting me know that it was calculated previously. I'm going to click OK. The calculation quantity is 1. Then the routing code is going to be 40 and the BOM code is 40 as well. I'm going to check the box to calculate all BOM levels. I want the update immediate and I'm going to click OK. A report will be generated, and also we can browse to, which I'm not going to print the report, I'm just going to browse to common data, products cost, standard cost, and I'm gonna filter by the product, STD, and the site, an A00 and A011. And as you can see, I have two records, 1 and 2. Normally the last number is the very recent record. So here I can see that my material cost is $250. The labor is 140, sorry, because we have 1 hour for setup time, which costs 70, and 1 hour for run time, which also costs 70. So the total for labor is 140. Then the subcontract, I have the $500 that I entered on the routing, and I have the $10 under the cost and dimension. So the subcontract cost will be 510. And finally, the total cost for this finished goods product is 652.50. Now that the standard cost has been calculated for this BOM, the next thing I'm going to do is to create the work order and process the production tracking on it. So I'm going to start by going to the navigation menu, manufacturing, planning, work order, select the transaction form, click new, enter my planning and production site, enter the product. I'm going to release 1 unit and I'm going to use today's date. Then here is my routing information. I'm going to click on the components. I can see my raw material, and for the operations I have 2 operations. The first one is a labor operation and the second one is my subcontract operation. I'm going to click create, and the system is going to generate or calculate the cost for me, the expected cost. And once that is done, I have a work order created. So I'm just going to copy this work order for now in case I need it. Then I'm going to click on the operations. Here, what I'm going to do is to click on the actions or the three dots. I'm going to select order so that way I can generate a purchase order. I'm going to check the information, make sure everything is fine. Here's my product, my service product. Here's the site. We are asking for one quantity, and I'm going to click order. Now that the order has been created, I'm going to go ahead and copy it, close out of here, go back to the navigation menu, click purchasing, orders. I just want to check the purchase order, make sure everything looks fine. So I'm going to paste this purchase order number here, select it. Here is the site, here is the supplier, here is the product, the service product, and the cost. Once that is done, I'm going to close out of here, move to the receiving or receipts to receive this PO, select the form, click new, enter the receiving site, enter the supplier. Then from the left list, I'm going to click order selection, look for my order, which is this one, and I'm going to click create. Now notice here when I clicked create, the system generated a production tracking for me because on the routing we have set this step or this operation to be a production operation. So I copied this work order tracking number. I'm going to close out of here. I'm going to close out of here as well. Go back to the navigation menu, click manufacturing, look for the production tracking, select the standard form, and look for my tracking number. Here is the tracking number that it got generated from the PO receipt. So I have the subcontract operation, as you can see. I have the finished goods and I have the raw material. One thing I have to do here is to create another production for the labor operation. So I'm going to click new, enter my production site, enter the work order number, which I'm going to click on the left list, look for the work order number, and check the production reporting and check the material because it's already been done, and just track the labor work center or the labor operation. Click create, and once that is done, I will click in the status just to make sure that everything got tracked. So for the product, I planned one, I completed one. Components, I planned one and tracked one. And finally for the operation, here is my labor operation expected one, and here is the completed one, and here is my subcontract operation as well. And as you can see for the line status, both are closed. Now that I have created a production tracking and a purchase order for the work order, the next thing I'm going to have to do is to close and cost the work order. So I'm going to click on the navigation menu, go to manufacturing, production tracking, work order close, enter the site, then enter the work order number, make sure products components and operations, everything looks fine. I'm gonna click close and answer yes to the message, close the work order. Now this message, production cost calculation, which means the work order will be permanently closed, no more addition gonna be added to it. So I'm gonna answer yes to this message, and here the system did the calculation for me. So I'm gonna close out of here. I'm going to go back to the navigation menu. Under costing, production costs, I'm going to click the WIP cost inquiry and look for my work order number. As you can see, once I selected this work order number, the very first thing you can notice that the tracking flag is set to closed and costed, which means this work order is done. Here's the actual cost for the material and the expected one. Here's the labor cost, here's the subcontract, and here's my total. Notice right now that the subcontract order cost is 510, which, remember, I haven't invoiced the purchase order receipt yet, or I haven't invoiced the purchase order. So for right now, I'm just going to close out of here. I'm going to go back to the navigation menu, costing, and I'm going to run WIP posting just to update the general ledger. So it's for the site I'm working with. The entry type is a work order. I'm going to check the box for all transactions, enter the work order number, and click OK. Once that is done, the system has generated a journal entry for me, and this is the number. Now that the work order has been closed and costed, the next thing I have to do is to invoice the purchase order, which I haven't done it before. So I'm going to go to the navigation menu. I'm going to go to purchasing, invoices, select the entry form, then click new. I'm going to enter the invoicing site, the invoicing type or invoice type. I'm going to enter the supplier. Then from the left list, I'm going to select receipt selection, look for my receipt, select that, and I can see this is my service product and it costs 500. I just have to enter a reference number here, supplier document number. Then for some reason, let's say we received the invoice for 525 instead of 500. So I'm going to change the net price here. I'm going to enter the invoice minus tax, click create, and then I'm going to post this invoice. And here is a warning message. I'm going to click OK to this warning message. The last thing in this presentation I want to show you is how to recalculate the work order cost. Although we mentioned before that the work order has been closed and costed, but because the invoice was not the same as the receipt, we have to recalculate the work order. So what I have to do is go back to the navigation menu, click on costing. Under production costs, there is something called WIP finalization. I'm going to uncheck the cost calculation because the cost has already been calculated before, but I have to check the cost update. I'm going to enter the site. Now, I have to click the magnifying glass to see if my work order exists here, which it does. So I'm going to select this work order number and I'm going to click OK. Once that is done, the system will give me a log letting me know that the cost calculation is finished. So I'm going to close out of here, close out of here as well, go back to the navigation menu, go back to costing, production costs. This time I'm going to click on the WIP cost inquiry, and for this work order number I was working with, if I look under the subcontract actual cost, I can see that it has increased by the $25. So instead of being 510, now it's 535. The very last thing I have to do is to update the general ledger, which again, under the navigation menu, costing, WIP posting, if I enter my production site and enter the work order, I'm just going to select all transactions, enter my work order from to, click OK. You will notice that the system has generated another journal entry for me, which this one is for the subcontract. And again, this step, I normally run it if the subcontract cost has increased or changed. If it does not increase or doesn't change, there is no need to rerun the WIP finalization.